Spoiler season for Wilds of ELDRAINE begins this Tuesday, August 15th, and I am definitely excited to see some of the reveals after the preview teasers that we got a couple weeks back. However, there's already been some leaks, and while the photo quality is not great, some of the cards are definitely interesting, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the ones that seem to support, whether directly or indirectly, Rat Tribal. So, let's get into the video. Alright guys, thanks so much for checking out the video. First of all, before we go any further, if you do enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think like 97% of the people that watch the videos are not subscribed, so even if you enjoy what I do, just click the sub button. It helps so much, and it's free. And also click the bell icon if you want to stay notified during preview season and stuff. We're covering everything, so it's going to be your best source to get information wherever you need it. If you want to join the channel membership, it's only $5 per month, and you do get a free booster pack if you're a channel member in August, as well as voting on topics and giveaways and a bunch of other things. Scan the QR code on the screen if you're interested, and you can be taken right to that page. Now, into the video. What we are going to be looking at today are some of the cards that were announced. I do want to just note that these are technically leaks that are not official in any capacity, so there is always a slight possibility they are not real. However, based on the photos and the text and everything else, I would, wager a guess that these are very much real. Just kind of been doing this for a little bit now. It's pretty much like we always get leaks like this as we go around and as it gets closer to it, so at least it's only a couple days before. It's gotta feel bad for the people who have those cards to do reveals, but either way, there's still plenty of stuff to reveal coming up. Talking about some of these cards in Rat Tribal, what we're going to get to, I just want to touch on a few of the other existing cards that have come out in recent sets. Karamonix the Rat King is from Phyrexia All Be One, and this is a really good card. It's just one to keep in mind as we go through the video. It's definitely a popular commander. It is 1 black with Toxic 1, gives other rats you control Toxic 1, and then says when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal any number of rats from among them that you like and put them into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom. Definitely a really solid commander option, or if you're electing to play some kind of multicolor deck, you can also just play this in the 99. Either way, it's still a really good card, and it's pretty inexpensive, all things considered. Might be one worth looking at before, if you're interested in maybe building something with rats going forward. This is obviously still standard legal as well, so now that we're looking at this amongst a few other rat cards, there's very much a possibility that, the standard formats could see something a little bit along these lines, too. The other one I wanted to mention was Ashcoat of the Shadow Swarm. This one is from Jumpstart 2022, so it technically came out in December of last year. This one is not standard legal, but definitely commander legal and definitely a really, really good card for rats. Of course, whenever Ashcoat of the Shadow Swarm attacks or blocks, other rats you control get +X till end of turn, where X is the number of rats you control. At the beginning of your end step, you may mill 4 cards. If you do, return up to 2 rat creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Both really, really powerful cards that have come out within the past year, and both extremely good additions to Rat Tribal. Now, there are a lot of different rat options, but many of them are a bit lackluster. Typically, what people are playing things like Relentless Rats or Rat Colony, because you can play multiples of them, and EDH, having access to that in EDH is pretty strong. But these two are definitely ones to keep on your radar. I think Ashcoat's unfortunately a little bit more expensive than, your typical, low-end rare, or this is a mythic, but get my point, like a card that, maybe doesn't see a ton of play, but is definitely really popular. I think it's like a $30 card. I would be shocked if it was any cheaper now with the announcement of this stuff, but we'll have to see. So just something to keep in mind. Moving to Wilds of ELDRAINE, I have 5 cards I want to talk about in today's video, and they are not all directly supporting Rat Tribal, but I'm trying to find the ideal place to fit the coverage in for some of these, and some of them don't necessarily, warrant their own video, so I'm just kind of throwing it in here to cover it. That card, of course, Beseech the Mirror. This is a little blurry, and I apologize, but this is what the leaks gave us. There's not a lot of, high-quality pictures here. There was nothing on Scryfall to grab that, looked good, so unfortunately, we have to work with what we have. This is 1 and 3 black, and it is a sorcery with Bargain, which appears to be one of the new keywords. Bargain says you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast this spell. If you do that, of course, obviously it'll lead to other things, I think similar to Casualty from New Capenna. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If this spell was bargained, you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost, if that spell's mana value is 4 or less. Put the exile card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. So, it's a tutor, essentially, that can get you access to anything, but it has that neat ability of if you do sacrifice something as you play it, you can cast it for free. That's pretty solid. I mean, 4 or less, there's some decent targets there, and honestly, just funnily enough, I mean, Caramonyx the Rat King and Ash Coat of the Shadow Storm can be grabbed by this, which is why I thought it was a little bit funny just to kind of at least mention that. Is this going to be great in Standard? I'm not sure, because obviously this is a Standard legal set. It's the next, Standard set in rotation. But this does feel like on the surface it might have some potential, and it's obviously outclassed by cards like Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and so forth, but most cards would be outclassed by that, and this does have the added caveat of being able to play it for free if its mana value is 4 or less, assuming you hit the bargain. So, interesting card. Let me know what you guys think of this one, because it definitely does feel like it has some potential. I'm just not really sure where it will fall yet. Now, we've got Song of Totentance. I might have mispronounced that one. And that costs X and a red, and it says, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. My thought is this card is insane. It is a sorcery, so of course you can't play it during the opponent's turn, but it's a weird card because it's red, but it creates the black creature tokens. I think the reason that they did this is because in a red deck, you could play this without paying X and just a 1-cost give everything you have haste till end of turn, which certainly does fit with Mono Red's more aggressive strategy. But this definitely does have some potential if you can find a commander that works along the lines of black-red. I don't know if they're going to introduce any more, or maybe introduce a rat in this set that meets those criteria, but just kind of looking at what we have so far, I'm definitely, this is a pretty solid card. And being able to spam the board with those creatures and give them haste, especially in conjunction with a card along the lines of Ashcoat, which we talked about a bit earlier. When Ashcoat attacks, other rats you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of rats you control. So if you have him out and then you pay this, they all get haste, they're all attacking, and they're all swinging for absolutely wild damage. So that's just one combo, that Ashcoat kind of made me think of, but it's a really, really strong card here, and I think it's absolutely one to keep an eye on. Next up, Tangled Colony. This is 1 and a black. It is a rat creature. Tangled Colony can't block. When it dies, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. So this is kind of interesting as well, because you could block an opponent's huge creature with this, and they get a bunch of rat tokens. So it's like a weird, Phyrexian Obliterator type thing, obviously without the, the destructive effect that Obliterator has. But I mean, if your opponent swings at something big and you block with this, you can then just spam the board with a bunch of rat tokens who can then, attack on the turn. I think you can really start to build board presence quick with some of these cards, and it's kind of cool to see rats getting a bit more expansive options other than just play 20 or 30 copies of a card with the same name, whatever. That'll always be an interesting strategy, but it's kind of nice to see a bit more diversity along that option. Lord Skitter, Sewer King. This is a 2 and a black. It is a legendary creature, Rat Noble. Again, my apologies for the still images. They are not the best quality, but, you make do with what you can. This is a 3/3 legendary Rat Noble. It says, whenever another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 card from an opponent's graveyard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. So it seems like we've had a lot of rat token generation, which is kind of neat. Obviously, not being able to block kind of makes sense, because otherwise you could just endlessly set yourself up for protection. So I understand the logic behind it. I know as a legendary, this technically could be a commander. I just don't necessarily think it's a very good commander option, not when we look at the other rat options that we have. And as we start to see some color mixing here, I mean, you definitely could do better than this one and the 2 cards we talked about earlier in the video. But this still has a place in the 99 for sure, being able to create board presence and also get rid of some problematic cards to the opponent's graveyard. Not a bad card at all. It's just not one I would lean towards being a commander, but it's a legendary, so there is that. I honestly wonder if it's a legendary just so you can't drop multiple copies of it and then just keep spamming tokens. I don't know. You could Helm of the Host it, I suppose. And finally, Lord Skitter's Blessing. This is 1 and a black enchantment. It says, whenever Lord Skitter's Blessing enters the battlefield, create a Wicked Roll token attached to target creature you control. A Wicked Roll token says, enchanted creature gets +1/+1. When this aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. We're going to talk about some of the new mechanics and stuff in a video later this week, so I'll go over the roll tokens a bit more, but they are kind of a cool concept. But for now, just know that basically when it enters the battlefield, you can enchant a creature, it gets +1/+1, and then, when that aura, the token you're creating, puts into the grave, the opponent loses 1 life. So not bad. At the beginning of your draw step, if you control an enchanted creature, you draw 1 life and you lose 1 life and draw an additional card. It's like a weird Phyrexian Arena almost that costs less. I mean, it sets itself up to be a Phyrexian Arena just by, enchanting something you control. Not a bad card. I think this may be better for Standard than for other formats, simply because you're going to have the option to get some extra draw power. Whereas otherwise, you might want to go Phyrexian Arena because it doesn't require you to have a creature on the board. So at least there's a bit of, give and take there. It's it's a little hard to say, but it's not a terrible card. Obviously, thematically speaking, it looks really cool. And we don't know. I mean, there's probably still a lot more rats, in which case I'll need to make an update to this video or a follow-up video, because if there are more and rat, tribal becomes even more expansive, then people are probably going to have a lot of interest in that. So let me know what you think of the reveals so far. Again, just to note, these are leaks. They are not confirmed. There is always the possibility they are fake. I do not believe that to be the case, but just want to put that disclaimer out there. Stay tuned to Loveshack all week long, because we will be covering all the news for Wilds of ELDRAINE as quickly as I possibly can get it out. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.